Hey, Jared.
Hey, Josh.
What's an infantryman's favorite type of music?
Infantrymen. Instrumental. I don't know.
Marching band.
That's not a musical style. I get it though. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Very appropriate.
Yes, it is. Oh yeah, very appropriate.
Hey, welcome back to Screen Time Film, a podcast where we take a director and watch and review their films through chronologically. Currently, we are in the middle of the 80s for Francis Ford Coppola.
Mm-hmm.
I am your host, Josh, and Jared. The podcast is now wearing your brains, and they frankly look better there.
I like that. That's a good one.
So this is my co-host, Jared.
I gotta get that for the video listeners. Here's to us and those like us. There we go.
Yeah, they said that several times.
Yeah, they did.
All right. Well, today we are discussing Gardens of Stone from 1987, rated R, an hour and 51 minutes. A sergeant must deal with his desires to save the lives of young soldiers being sent to Vietnam. Continuously denied the chance to teach the soldiers about his experiences, he settles for trying to help the son of an old army buddy.
Seems like the movie plays out very differently than that description.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But all right, so directed by FFC.
Yeah.
Writers Nicholas Prophet, who wrote the book this is based on, and then Ron Bass, who I guess wrote some of the screenplay. Cinematographer are Jordan Cronenweth again.
Blade Runner guy.
Yep. And then music by Carmine Coppola again.
Yep, back to him.
Yeah. All right, production costs.
This one has to be cheaper. Although it's, again, a period piece, technically.
Right, technically.
But there's not as much going on. It's
not
very limited, like, locations.
That is true.
I'm trying to remember what we got up to in the other ones. I think we got up to 50 million now, right? I think so. Anyway,
yeah.
But I'll...
And Peggy Sue was 18.
That one was low, though.
And then...
Because I want to say
The Cotton Club was 58.
58, yeah. Okay. I'm going to say 30. 30 mil.
13 and a half.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
It's just some of the actors like coming back.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, they might have wanted a lot more, but that's
true.
That's very good. 13 mil.
And James Earl Jones wanted that Star Wars level paycheck at this point.
That was the main thing. I was like, yeah. He's like, I need a lot for this. Especially if I'm going to actually be there in physically, not just my voice.
Not just my voice.
Yeah.
All right, no nominees or wins for the Oscars on this, which is unusual for our boy Coppola. He always gets a nominee or two.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of talent, so we have James Caan, Angelica Houston, James Earl Jones, D.B. Sweeney, Dean Stockwell, Mary Stuart Masterson, Dick Anthony Williams, Lynette McKee, Sam Bottoms, Elias Koteas, I don't know, Lawrence Fishburne.
Elias Koteas, yeah.
Elias, yeah.
I got something to say about him.
Casey Manzacco, Peter Masterson, Carlin Glenn, Eric Holland, and Bill Graham.
A lot of those people, I don't know who they are.
Yeah, some of them I'm not as familiar with either.
There's a few, though, that I recognize besides our main. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what was your general thoughts on this film?
All right. Well, like a lot of these, actually all of them from this decade were all like
ones we've never seen,
never heard about,
really heard of. Yeah.
Went in completely blind. It's the same with this one. Well, first, I just want to say rest in peace to James Earl Jones, because that was pretty recent.
Yeah.
This year he passed away, which was very sad. But with this movie, I feel I have a lot of notes of like overall thoughts. I don't know how I'm going to explain it all. Like I'm very, very mixed on this movie.
Yeah.
Because like overall, it's like a kind of more like quiet film, introspective type of film.
Yeah.
Which is
Fine.
good. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
And there's some really great scenes, some really great acting, but then there's some really bad scenes and some really bad acting.
I think I agree with that. Yeah. No.
So,
I think I'm with you on that.
It's like, so yeah, just very mixed. Like, you know, so I'll just say overall, like I really like some sections and didn't like some other ones. So very mixed. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, I explained a little differently, but
Okay.
So I think the overall idea of the story, I think, is good.
Yes.
I think a lot of the execution was poor. And I don't know if it's from taking it from the book and trying to, you know, get it to fit in a 2-hour movie, or what where they had to cut things and not. And I think whatever happened there missed the mark, I think, is where, because there's to me some disconnect in like understanding characters and motivation that you're just kind of like, wait, what? Like, and so, but then like overall, like you said, there's some scenes that are great. There's like moments and things that are, but then there's also some stuff that you're just like, what? Like,
why is this in the movie?
And then and just again, like you don't feel the motivation of the character. So then like the line delivery feels flat and like empty. Is the way I was looking at it.
Definitely.
So yeah, I'm kind of with you, mixed. Like it's not that I hated the film, but definitely wouldn't watch it again just because it's like,
yeah,
there's not.
I think I would watch like
not enough substance there for me to.
No, but at times, and I think that's why like maybe I would go on YouTube and search like a specific scene or something. Yeah, because there's some really great stuff. But yeah, it's all over the place. So.
Well, let's get into just overall notes. So one of the things that just a general note.
Yeah.
Felt like the production is feeling a little dated. Like just we're now getting to the mid to later 80s, and it still feels
this
like
was 87.
Yeah, it still feels like a film that was made in the 70s to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's kind of those things I noticed with the Coen brothers too. It felt like it took them a while. They were kind of stuck in their older ways of making stuff, and it kind of their films started to feel like they were a decade or so behind from like a just skill level production, like for lack of a better way to say it. I think like
it could also be like a stylistic choice too, though. Or did it not seem like that to you?
I don't. Not what I'm talking about. I think it's just more of like the quality of the audio recording, the mixing, like things like that.
Yes,
just like
I
the
do agree with
dialogue,
that.
like that kind of things. It just
Audio-wise,
felt like, again, like was it the last one? Peggy Sue.
Peggy Sue was
it was the last one.
Yeah.
That one felt like higher quality from a production standpoint.
Yeah,
now,
we
again,
said that one seemed way more commercial.
Budget wise, this one was lower budget even that, and then that was, and so I mean, it could be coming to that play in that case, because I mean, there's definitely commercials that I wouldn't always want to put my name on just because I'm like, oh, it's a low budget thing, we just doing to get paid and stuff. So I understand that, but anyway, it just felt like this was a little dated from that standpoint.
Yes, I can see what you mean.
Not in a good way.
I wanted to just first off, like, one of the best things of this movie is James Earl Jones. He's so good in this movie, I think. He's such a great actor anyway, but I haven't seen him a lot in like even a role like this, in this type of character, but also like I haven't seen many movies of him. I mean, there's like the Sandlot, right? But like, there's like a lot. I haven't seen a lot of movies where it's like he's actually, like we said, a physical performer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's all, we're just all used to Darth Vader.
Yeah,
but,
he's so famous for his voice that,
yeah, so it's, but I just watching this movie, even though it's very mixed at times, it's like, if he wasn't in this movie, it would have gone down a lot for me, as far as like just overall would want to watch it or anything. But yeah, so I just think he was really great.
Yeah.
And I honestly wish he was in it more.
Yeah. I can agree with those statements. Yeah, he was good. It was just fun to see him like jovial even at sometimes and stuff. And you're just like, oh yeah, because he's always has to be so serious as Darth Vader.
Yeah. Yeah, which I have a little bit later. I'll talk about like one of the dinner scenes that he's part of. Like, yeah, it's really cool to see him in that, where he's just kind of relaxed, smiling, joking around. It's like, yeah, we're not really used to him that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip side, my other kind of overall is DB Sweeney is Jackie Willow.
Mm-hmm.
Not great. And like a little overacting at times too. I don't know if you noticed that. I thought it was. And he's just, which sucks because he's one of our main characters. We have a lot of him in this movie, and he was not good. Maybe more like you're talking about which I didn't feel quite as much, but your kind of Frederick Forrest take with a lot of his previous movies. I kind of feel that way about this guy because I didn't really recognize him too much, but I was just like, man, he's not good in this.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I felt the same way about Angelica Houston.
Yeah, but she was better. And she was more competent because she's already...
Yeah, a little more mature in her acting. But like,
right.
But I still felt like there were some scenes where I was like, just, yeah.
It is weird because...
Like how
same with James Caan, which we know he's a great actor, but like sometimes he does some weird stuff in this too.
Yeah. Well, so
maybe it is I don't know, a stylistic thing.
The interaction, the stuff with him when they go to that dinner or whatever, he goes, and then like he punches the guy, and then like after that, their interaction at the apartment, like those are like ones I specifically had a note. Just felt so fake, even the acting, like it just didn't feel believable.
Yep.
And then her like, she's supposedly upset and like cares about him, but like it was like, I don't.
Or it seems like acting that you could forgive if it was in like a movie from the 50s.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Kind of more that style. Like we talk about like different acting styles that kind of evolve and change each decade. And I can see what you mean with like some of the stuff like that seemed like it was a little dated, which goes into your kind of overall production. Feels dated.
Yeah.
So some of the acting maybe does too. But then it's like James Earl Jones, not at all. Like he was just felt very effortless to him, like embodying this character. It is very believable for him.
Yeah.
I have one more actor.
Okay.
Like I just want to mention overall because he's barely in it. First time we see him is at the beginning of the movie when we first are on the base.
Yep.
We get Pete is what he's called in the movie. I don't know if they really ever say his name, but this is Elias Koteas, which he's in a lot of things that I didn't realize how much he was in, but you will know him, and I know him most as Casey Jones from the Ninja Turtles movies. That's who this guy is.
Yeah.
Which Casey Jones is one of my favorite. Like I've always loved him in this. In Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in general, but I liked him a lot in this live action movies, which I wonder if those hold up.
I don't know. I have not seen those in a long
I
time.
loved them.
Yeah,
the first two, not the third. The third one was bad.
Where it's like practical effects.
Yeah,
in actual costumes versus like the newer CG stuff.
I have to look up and see who directed them because I have no idea. But anyway, so I just wanted to shout him out. I do like him, especially as Casey Jones, but he was barely in this movie.
True.
This is also 3 years. I think the first Turtles movie was 1990. So a couple years later.
Which I saw in the theater. It made the...
Did you really? In 1990?
Yeah, Uncle Dean took me
Nice.
and Jeremy. Like,
Oh, that's cool.
and then we both made the local news because they were covering, for some reason, they were covering
How did I not know any of this?
the I guess the phenomenon of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which, was built off the cartoon first, and then they made the film. And of course, the comic books came before that, but, and so I wanted to see it. And of course, I guess I would, if it was 1990, I would have been 12. So
so I'm sure you loved it right away. I mean, I did when I watched it later.
Age, no, I loved it. And then I remember coming out, it was at Leitersburg.
Okay.
Then,
what was that, the Dollar Theater then?
No, it wasn't that. It was like the normal theater then.
Oh, I guess the Dollar Theater would have been even after that.
Yeah, it was much later. Later.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then they I can't remember what I said, but they asked me a real question. So in the news, it was like me responding about what I liked. I don't remember what, but then I remember then there's just a cut to Jeremy, our cousin, being like, "Cowabunga, dude!"
Nice.
So,
that's cool.
Yeah, good old NBC 25, the Hagerstown news.
The news, yeah.
But not that it doesn't exist anymore.
No.
But yeah, just weird too. But anyway, Grammy had it. She recorded it when it was on the news. She had it on like VHS. So I don't know. It might still be around somewhere, but
maybe someone uploaded it. Maybe we could find it on YouTube somehow. That'd be great.
Yeah.
If I find it, I'll cut it in
insert
right
here.
now. That's like the only place you can find stuff, because people, that's what you do if you want something to live on, like especially an old video.
What
because I found very
Jeremy
old.
He was older than you, right? He was between you and So he would have been maybe 7 then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was 3 in 1990, so
so maybe 5. I don't know.
So whenever that, no, it wouldn't have been. I was trying to think. Obviously, the first time I watched Turtles was when it came out on VHS.
Yeah,
but I probably wasn't much older than that. Probably only a few years later when I first. But I also just loved it. But anyway, that was a long tangent
aside,
of Elias Koteas, which I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but yeah, him as Casey Jones. It's great.
All right, so back to Gardens of Stone.
Gardens of Stone, which, by the way, after watching this movie, I immediately was like, because even going into it, I was like, why is this movie called that?
Oh,
but it makes a lot.
Oh yeah.
It makes a lot of sense as soon as we get into the plot of the movie.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. I thought that was interesting. Again, so I'm gonna kind of broke this into like the ideas I liked about the film.
Okay.
So that was interesting to see the struggle between the duty and honor for the fallen, but then wanting to be part of the action. There was this like conflict in there that I thought was interesting thing to play with in a story.
Yeah. I mean, that was their whole struggle in the whole movie of like the old guard, right? Yeah. That was really great in this movie.
I like the idea. And so again, kind of coming back to my initial overall note of like their story, there's interesting stuff there, but then the execution seemed a little convoluted. And so that's kind of why I broke it up this way. I liked the dynamic of Hazard taking Jackie under his wing, like the sergeant, kind of mentoring his old buddies.
I had to look on IMDb, because sometimes some of the characters they refer to by their last name, because that's like what's on their uniform.
Willow,
but then sometimes they'll say the first name. So like Hazard, I'm like, who is that again? That's James Caan, but sometimes they call him Clell, which is also a weird first name, but
and a weird last. I mean, like
right, yeah, Clell Hazard. Like, who comes up with that name? But anyway, but yeah, same with Jackie. And,
the weird male first name.
Yes.
Jackie Willow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and James Earl Jones is Major Nelson, which is like the easiest way to remember, is just saying Major, but it's Sergeant Major Nelson. But he's I have it on here somewhere. His first kind of like nickname. Shoot. Hold on. I have it somewhere here. Goody.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yep. So I also liked the way they tried to tackle the, let's say, anti-war part of it too, like bringing the journalists into it to kind of give a more perspective from outsiders, so to speak, and not the, you had, because so many of the characters were part of the military. And of course, even though James Caan's character Hazard was kind of against it some, at least how they were going about it, and
yes,
which got him into trouble a couple of times, but
it's cool to think of this movie as like a good kind of companion movie to Apocalypse Now, but also like the complete opposite. Like if you wanted to watch two movies back to back, that's like different perspectives, but also just very different. Just the type of film, like we said, like Apocalypse Now is very much action, like very forward driven, and like you're in there, and then this movie is very contemplative, like very. I mean, the only thing you really see is like a kind of a practice, right? Yeah, that's later in the movie. You see them like running like
some drills, like practice drills. Yeah. But yeah, and I kind of had a note about that later. The interesting, like in the dynamic of him coming back to the same material but from a different perspective, which is also just to me is interesting from a creative. Like it's almost like, does he feel like he didn't get his point across that he was trying to tell before
in Apocalypse Now?
Yeah, it's like, or it's just like this thing he's hung up on.
Or his actual opinions or views changed since then, because that would have been literally 10 years or more, so. Yeah. So it's just interesting to contemplate. It is crazy that he wanted to, just because we talked about how crazy the whole process of making that movie was for him, Apocalypse Now, and him still, even though he has some time away from it, still like actually wanting to come back and revisit that in any way. It makes sense though that you would want to revisit it, and then in a completely different, like you said, view or perspective, but also very like almost complete opposite type of movie.
Yeah. Again, I think using the younger, cadet or whatever I don't want to use a technical term, but Jackie Willow is as a interesting to see his growth from perspective. Like if he was so about it, wanted to, the war was great, or so to speak, and then
just glorifying it, yeah,
and then by the end, he has more complex thoughts on it, and then all right, so then some of the things, and I mean, I don't know where, because
I have I have four notes left, and like two is just like just certain scenes. Okay. I have one section that's like they could have completely cut out to help it, and then I have just a note about the ending. So I don't know where you want to go next with.
Before we get into cinematography, you can do that. Okay. Like I already talked about the fight scene at that dinner. Like we jumped ahead, but that was one of the things I thought really didn't work. That whole situation. But then I loved the initial dynamic of him getting that date where he like talks her into being a +1 for like, he's like, oh, my friend, which was Jamie, like it has.
Are you talking about Jackie's date later?
No,
with the girl?
Sorry.
Okay.
No, I'm going to get to, actually, that was the other, but no, sorry.
I have something about that.
Yeah. No, with, what was her name? Sam and
Samantha. Yeah. Jellica Houston.
Yeah. Sam and Hazard, like where he like kind of asks her out, but doesn't, like, he's like,
yes.
Hey, so my friend's got a date coming over and I really don't want to be the third wheel to you, and then of course, then he turns around and calls him up. He's like, I need you to come over. So I love that like that dynamic. And those scenes were good, and acting was great. Like, felt very real and natural, and just like the awkwardness of trying to ask somebody out. And anyway, like I liked all that. But
Me
then,
too.
like I said, later that fight scene, and then the like after scene at the apartment where she's like, "Oh, you know," and like she's just like overwhelmed with like, it just fell flat for me, like that stuff.
I agree.
But then, yeah, and you said you had a note about this, but like, then the relationship with Rachel and Jackie, the younger couple, so to speak, if you want to. So all of this, like, one, it felt like it came out of nowhere. I feel like there was definitely opportunity to plan. And this is where it comes in bad writing, probably on the person that wrote the screenplay and not the book.
Yeah, probably.
Like, there should have been opportunity to plant some seeds about this girl that he, you know, like basically has been in love with, is like, so that when she shows up, it's not like, who's this person? Yeah. Even though we do see her in the very beginning.
Yeah, but like, I didn't realize it.
But there's so many, and there's so many people you're seeing then that you don't make the connection. And she looks very different because then she gets the shorter hair, but later, and you know, anyway. So, so I think there was like missed opportunity on that plot line to lay some groundwork so that when she shows up, we understand the weight of that, and then those scenes would have more impact between the two of them, right?
For sure.
And then also just the same with I feel like it's the same with though they do a little bit better with Hazard and Jackie being like his buddy's kid, and his dad, and of course the dad dies of a heart attack, and, you know, find out pretty early on. But still, that like just didn't quite feel the dynamic, the true bond there that they should have had. Like, and so then you're supposed to then believe that then these guys are mentors / like older couples to the younger couple. And it's like, it, again, because they didn't lay the foundation, it's not as meaningful that it could be. Cause there's a lot of, there could be so much heart and emotion you could connect to this film. And it's, I feel like it just missed a lot in those areas.
It did.
But
that's kind of one of my examples of, you mentioned like Jackie's father dying, and just a great example of just his reaction. So that's D.B. Sweeney, the actor. Like, his reaction is just, it's so bad and feels forced. It doesn't feel real at all. There's different times throughout this that sometimes he's good, like he's fine, but then sometimes he goes like way over the top, and it just doesn't feel real at all. I wanted to mention I'll stay with that. You were talking about like then later on with Jackie and
Rachel.
There we go. I'll say I don't remember that girl's name. Yeah. The whole date they go on, like in that whole section, we could have cut that out. Like that could have, even though I realized what she, because I thought also her, like, especially when they go home and she's like talking to her dad, like there was times she was pretty bad at acting too.
Well, just the whole interaction with her dad.
Yes.
Like even when he goes to pick it's so weird and just like,
doesn't feel natural at all.
Convoluted is the best. I know I keep saying that word, but
no, it's true.
I feel like it's
so that's was some of the stuff that I feel like we didn't need, even though I understand why you need to add her in a way into this movie because of the ending. But I don't know. That was just where this part of the movie I was just like, this doesn't feel natural and real as some of the other aspects of this movie. Like James Caan at times and James Earl Jones, and those different sections where it does feel like you actually feel what they're trying to portray coming across in a real way. The two scenes I have, just like good and funny moments. This is a little bit earlier on in the movie. So this is the dinner that Kalel, or whatever you want to call him. They call each other Kalel and Goody, but when he goes with Samantha, has a dinner with Goody and his wife. I think they're married.
I think so.
Yeah. So Goody's wife is talking at the dinner table, and she refers to them as red-blooded American stormtroopers. And I thought that was a great nod that they probably tried to add in for James Earl Jones.
Mm-hmm.
They had to get some kind of story. Because at this point, you think also 87.
Yeah, or when they were writing it, maybe 86. But
right, like Return of the Jedi. Like, so you had the trilogy, and Star Wars was probably very
cemented in the pop culture.
Yes, at this point, yeah. So that's another thing, probably why they wanted to get him in it. It's like, I wonder how this did box office wise. Just James Earl Jones alone.
Yeah.
At this point, you know.
Yeah, and probably James Caan has some.
Well, he was definitely like
some, pull as well, like from an actor. But
and then the other scene. I thought was the funniest part of the movie, and just a really great scene was Major Nelson. He's kind of doing his drill sergeant thing to a lot of the and checking all the, he's got the white glove on. He's checking all that.
Yep.
And
I know what you're going. I think I know what you're.
Yeah, he goes up to Willow. Yeah.
Yep.
And he asks about he phrases it of who came up with reproducing without sex. And Willow says your wife. And I was like, that is so ballsy to say that anyway, but especially to James Earl Jones in that moment.
Yeah.
As the drill sergeant.
They were talking about some type of
insect or animal that doesn't.
Yeah.
That
I was trying to remember what
without
it was.
reproduction, like or without mating, reproduces.
Yeah.
And then he asks him, and I was like, dang. So I thought it was really great. And I mean, James Earl Jones' response too, like he just laughs and he just carries on. It's just a good interaction. But I was like, in that moment, I don't think I would be able to just say that to him. But he did.
Yeah. Ballsy move.
Very ballsy. Yeah. And then I only have one more note. It's about the ending. I don't know if you have anything else.
No, I mean,
plot-wise.
Not plot-wise, no.
Okay. I just thought it was the way the movie starts and the way the movie ends. I thought both were really good. Also sad, but it starts and ends the exact same way with a funeral. And I thought that was a good way to. And again, I don't know. I didn't even know it was based on a book. So I don't know if that's how the book is too. But I thought that was a good choice in this movie. The way they started and ended the movie.
Yeah.
Or specifically a soldier's funeral, like starting the movie and ending.
For what the subject matter is, for sure.
Yes.
No, it's the same one.
Right.
So, yeah. It's talking a little about the cinematography. So, once again, this guy, I think, did a good job from the cinematography standpoint.
Say the only other thing we talked about him last week, because he was the cinematographer for Peggy Sue Got Married.
Yep.
But Blade Runner's the biggest thing, obviously. But
yeah,
this is really it.
Yeah.
Of like stuff that we know that this guy has done.
Yeah. I think so. I think they kind of did this last time, but just doing it differently. Same technique, but he used a lot of warm tones in the non-military based stuff. So anytime they were in the apartment or going out to dinner, other places, it was all like a lot more warmer tones. And then when they were on the military base, it was much cooler tones.
That's awesome. That's, again, I didn't notice it last week either. You mentioned that. Didn't notice it again this time. I think
it's one of those things is it's subtle. And if you're not looking for it, it's done right. Like it shouldn't be so, it shouldn't be,
just like score we talk about. Like if it,
it shouldn't be
uplifts the scene in a way.
It shouldn't be so obvious that you're like, oh my gosh, it's orange, and oh my gosh, it's blue. Like it shouldn't be that drastically different, because it's really just to have a subtle push and different feeling, right? So if something is warmer, is going to feel, more like about the people and the connection they're having and those kind of things. And which is what, so, my next note is then a lot of those scenes, like the bar scene and the dinner scene, the lighting was really cool, like really done well, nice low light, and but done well. And then but but then also shot with a lot of more close-ups and stuff because it's all about these characters and their relationships, right? Like that's really what those scenes are about.
Yes.
And so done well in that stance, whereas in the other stuff's more about the structure and stuff of the military, right? And so you're going for a little bit more subtle, cool tones, so you feel that it's more clinical and whatever, right? So, also like there's multiple times when dealing with the military people and several of these characters, kind of doing a lot of backlighting to kind of make them feel more heroic and things like that, especially when they were doing some of the ceremonial stuff.
I think when I mainly, which you're right, because I guess I don't, unless it's very noticeable, I don't specifically kind of focus on like color grade and stuff like that in movies. But because I mainly look at the actual shots, see like, oh, is this like a interesting
composition? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of more what I'd focus on in this department.
There was a few. I feel like the composition in general was anything.
Or if it's like a very unique angle or the way it pushes it. Yeah, like you said.
I feel like this guy I noticed, because I think it was the same with last week.
Yeah.
Of course, it's been a while since I watched Blade Runner. But
oh man, you need to again. One of the best.
I was just gonna like. I don't feel like he, at least in these two films, really pushed for a more interesting or more elaborate composition.
Mm-mm.
Most of the composition was pretty straightforward. Not bad in any means, but just like, just not his style, I guess. But
he does that a lot in Blade Runner, though. That's what's so interesting.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if he was going to do that.
Because that sometimes can come from the director pushing for that too.
True.
So
yeah, Ridley Scott also.
Yeah,
one of the best.
The other thing that was interesting, the use of camera movement or not, right? So the funerals, specifically the beginning and the ending, was a lot of just static shots, like locked off camera.
Yeah.
But then, like, for instance, later when they're doing those drills, it's all handheld to give like the urgency and action of the thing, which is, again, these are all
normal
typical things that you use from a storytelling standpoint as a cinematographer, director, or whatever, whoever's making the decisions initially. But just like those choices, they seem very obvious and deliberate.
Nice.
So yeah.
Well, I only have one thing with cinematography, and it's just something I wanted to ask you about. I think I might have even asked you this similar thing last week, which again is also the same cinematographer, but I noticed a lot of slow dissolves with the transitions. And I was going to ask you, was that like because I know different, especially like the way to transition scenes, I feel like different time periods or different decades of when movies were filmed, like there's different trends. And I was going to ask you, is like the slow dissolve, was that a trendy 80s technique?
I don't know if it might be, that's not something I've ever picked up on or paid attention to from like a decade.
Okay.
But my guess would be, and this is just a guess, but probably in the 80s is when it started to become a little bit more easy and popularized to be able to edit like a little bit more digitally, or and so then suddenly when because I know it's one of those things that, like, a lot of times first time editors, so you first time you can do, you're like, and then there's all these transitions you can drop in and apply very easily. You overuse them.
All right. Okay.
So I don't know, again, but this, this is mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
I imagine it's starting to become more, back then it was Avid was really the thing people were, because they were big machines, take up a whole room to do it. But I could see that being techniques. I don't really know, but I'm just
okay. I was just curious about it. If you thought about that, but is that normally a thing though? Just like, obviously, I know we mentioned when it comes to music and score, there's different trends from different decades. I was wondering if there's different specific things that like people overused.
100%. Well, a lot of times it's, again,
when it comes to
influenced by something that like got popular, right? So again, let's go just as an example. I think it was the Bourne movies were the first ones to do that very frenetic camera movement, and
but that was like,
and it was like,
too much,
Right, but like the first time I did it, and then it popularized it, and then like
Yeah, but it
and
was
then,
like to the point of like I almost was sick watching it.
right, but
Because it was just like it was too much.
But the movie was popular, and then and then other people ripped off that, including one of the James Bond movies went way too hard on it too. And it was one of the Daniel Craig's. I think it was
probably the first one because that would have been shortly after Casino.
I feel like
or maybe
the next
Quantum.
one. I think it was Quantum of Solace, where like you see it almost like too much, and then they back off of it, and because everyone realized, oh wait, this is. And it's
then
like
we
a
get
cheap trick, right, to make the action feel more intense.
Yes, and I think like John Wick is like the perfect medium of it.
Yeah,
I think John Wick does it the best way.
Yeah. Well, it's also like I said, cheap trick and then everyone realized, oh, this is, and then it's like way cooler to be a little bit wider with it and actually see the action, because that's harder to do. But
yeah, you're right. Especially the first Bourne movie. It's like the amount of cuts is insane.
Yeah. But anyway, and but then that someone did that probably because again, suddenly digital became like so easy to like.
Oh yeah, so you lean into it. You're like,
oh, I can cut as much as I want, and then someone plays with it, comes up with the style, and then it makes it into a film. So anyway, so I'm just backing out of that, just as an example.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. I've done enough research to know for sure, but just like either some film, and it's a combination of tech and then someone using it, but I mean like, oh, you can do this, and then someone ever using it, and then of course, then people back out of it and then use it more appropriately.
I know exactly what you mean, because in the music side, as soon as there was what would have been Pro Tools mainly, but Logic and every other DAW, when computers got powerful enough to where you could have literally unlimited amount of tracks, people then leaned into that way too much. I noticed with music where it's like, oh, we could just have, so there's like 30 different instruments going at the same time. And then it's like, at that point, even no matter how well you mix it,
it's just noise.
Right. You're not hearing everything. And then people started to back off, and they're like, we don't need to utilize all this. A lot of times, especially in music, less is more. Especially if you want things to stand out. So like I noticed that same trend. I don't remember when that exactly was, what years, but yeah. So you have this technology and then people lean into it. Yeah. Too much. But then they start to you learn just like any other technology.
Just like any new tool, it gets overused, and then it finds its right usage.
And you find the balance.
Yeah. And then it's like, when to use it and when to not. And kind of AI stuff is kind of probably a good example that's around right now that has potential to be overused or, obvious, like, well, even I think, the stagecraft stuff they were doing kind of almost like it was really cool. And it's honestly very cool technology.
It is.
And used right, but it can be amazing. But also once it came out, and then you saw a couple examples where it kind of got overused.
Yeah. And then you could start to feel the limitation as far as like, oh, this doesn't feel like a real big open outside area space. And
that's also part of the learning process on a technology is like finding the strengths and weaknesses. So then you learn the times to use it and lean into it and the times to avoid it so that you maximize it. But like early adopters, you're going to run into those where it's just like, oh, that didn't work, But anyway, another long tangent.
No, that was a good discussion though.
Yeah.
It was interesting to think about.
Yeah.
With
Cool. Well, I'm going to talk about speaking of music.
Yeah.
So wait, is this his brother, cousin?
I don't know. I tried to look it up. It is a Coppola, because he's done a few. Yeah, he's done a few now. And I think almost every movie that Carmine Coppola has scored, I haven't really said much about it. I still don't really have anything to say about this. It's just mostly just brass for the score. Like that's literally the only instruments I think I really heard in it, which makes sense. More military feel.
Yep.
But so it was fine. But again, nothing that. Yeah, because I always point out if there's a really great melody or just something that really sticks in your head.
I feel like it's been it's like competent stuff. It's not bad.
No.
But there's nothing you're like, wow.
Which I forget his name, but then like the person that did the Godfather score, we very much talked about because even though it was similar, like had a lot of brass in there, but it was very iconic, very memorable melodies. Like that elevated it for sure.
All right. So
you have themes and messages.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I didn't know if you were gonna go into trivia.
And as soon as I
You're gonna mix it, mix it up. So
yeah, not that the order has to happen the same every time.
no, but I just wanted to see if you remember
messages. No. I did. I was just getting the trivia queued up, so I didn't. What do you got? Anything?
Yeah, I was really thinking about with this one because I think potentially there could be a lot of themes in messaging in this type of movie.
I agree.
Main thing I thought of is kind of learning from your experiences and just in general the passage of time.
Okay,
it's a big thing in this.
Yeah.
Grief also.
Yes.
In specific ways and how people deal with it, handle it.
Yeah. Also, I put just the complexities of war and kind of like it's needed sometimes, but it's not pretty. I think is a big theme in here.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, well, let's do a little trivia. All right. Top thing here is Coppola's son, Gianni Carlo Coppola, was originally cast as Pete DeVeber, but was replaced when he was killed in a speedboating accident in '86 in Annapolis, Maryland.
Whoa. Coppola's son died this year of the movie.
Yeah, well, the year they're probably making the movie, or right before they started making the movie. Griffin O'Neill, who was driving the boat while using drugs, had attempted to pass between two slow-moving boats, failing to realize in his haste that both boats were connected by a very long tow line. Wow.
Yeah, I had no idea about this. So this was a son of his that at least was interested in acting, and he was going to try to get him into his movie. Well, speaking of another one of his kids, though, no Sofia Coppola in this, though.
That's true. Surprising. Yeah.
Surprising, yeah. Maybe she's in the background. We didn't even see it in like the funeral or something.
So Mary Stuart Matterson's character's parents are played by her real life parents, Peter Matterson and Carlin Glynn.
Maybe that's why the acting wasn't that great. I don't know.
The rapport between Goody, James L. Jones, and Jackie T.V. Sweeney regarding asexual reproduction is almost identical to that between David Lippman, Matthew Broderick, and his science teacher in War Games from '83.
Oh, this is a nod to War Games. That's interesting.
This film was a screen comeback after a decade of unsuccessful films for James Caan, according to Rating the Movies.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it had been a decade since what he did in like The Godfather, James Caan, and he hadn't been in any other Coppola movies that we've talked about since then. So, hold on though, Thief came out in 1980, and that's a highlight for me. That's a Michael Mann classic.
I know. I'm just,
a lot of his movies don't.
This is from Rating the Movies.
Yeah.
His quote from Rating.
I like him in that movie a lot, but it probably didn't do well at the time, I imagine. I don't think a Michael Mann movie did like huge until Last Mohicans, honestly, which I think was early 90s.
Yeah, not much in here. Burt Reynolds lobbied for the lead role, but lost out to James Caan.
That would be
so. It just says Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Bottoms were in Vietnam, played Vietnam veterans in Apocalypse Now.
Yep.
Which we kind of already knew that, but
We didn't mention Lawrence Fishburne. Again, he's in this very briefly.
This is the second film with TriStar Pictures for Coppola. Peggy Sue was the first.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gotta look up our next movie also.
Oh, okay. All right. So, any other final thoughts about this one?
No, just I'm still glad I watched it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, I'm not. Yeah, I don't think I'm.
it wasn't like a waste of time, but like I said, some really good highs, but some lows as well.
Yeah, but overall,
I do want to reiterate, if James Earl Jones wasn't in this, that would have brought it down a lot. Like, I just thought he did so well in this.
all right. Well, our next film, Tucker, the Man in His Dream.
Yeah,
Another one I've never heard of.
me either. It's about a man named Tucker and his dream.
Are you sure? The man might be somebody else. Just says Tucker.
Oh, could be a different man in a different dream. True,
Anyway,
yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll find out next week.
Let us know if you know about it.
Yeah.
Or with this one, too.
That's right. Write in. Let us know your thoughts. If you've seen Gardens of Stone and you have thoughts and opinions, you agree, disagree with what we have discussed here. I feel like it's another one of those films that maybe if you saw it when it came out, you might feel very differently about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you'd like, email us, send us some feedback at feedback@screentimepod.com. You could also leave us a comment on YouTube, TikTok, Reels, Instagram. If you'd like, please like and subscribe on all the social media and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And if you want, you can follow either one of us on Instagram. I'm at JYoungBar.
And I'm at Jared Youngbar.
All right. Talk to you guys next time.